One, two.
Where I am.
Two where you are, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see. Akamarured versus Sizouney. Wow, Sizouney looking real handsome today. That's without his eye apparatus, I believe. HD finger guns.
Yes! Okay! I'm back in the public library just for me. He heard I was casting today and decided to turn on his camera. I appreciate it, man. That's not actually what happened, but that's what I'm saying.
All right. I also have really good news for you, Aya. We're not seeing it right now, but you mentioned Conjuring Force. It's actually not Sizouney that brought Conjuring Force. It's Akamarured that did.
What?
We're in for maybe the craziest match we'll ever actually witness.
Oh, shenanigans. Okay, but yeah. Okay. All right, now tell me, Mofo, because I don't know, man. How do you feel about Conjuring?
I, at first, a long time ago, was convinced that the person on Conjuring Force was Time Mage Levi. And then I realized it's actually just like kind of... It's someone who looks like him but has smoother hair and has like a shoulder pad. That is my like expert analysis on it. That's my my deep gameplay thoughts. I think it's a really cool card. When we do get around to seeing it, really what I am just like kind of speechless at is just I'd really like to see the game. It's a whole new kind of Shadowverse we're gonna get to see between this because of Akamarured's like decision to play it. I mean, you can see both like these guys are just having fun. You can already see it on their faces.
Yeah, man. You know what? If I didn't know better, they're probably just really. You know what, man? Let's just throw down, have a good time. They're gonna have a party, man.
Mm-hmm. So, to try to actually discuss what we're looking at here, so on the side of Akamarured, this is mostly a traditional kind of Roach Forest list with a twist, in that it runs into the Looking Glass alongside Elf Twin's Assault to make sure that he has an answer to these snowmen that he's going to have to deal with. On the side of Sizouney here, we have Snow Daria. It is like a Daria list, but instead of running certain things like Oglers or Blade Mages, or really the entire Daria package, it runs Path to Purgatory and Snowmen.
Well,
so
yeah, I guess he just decided to bring he just decided to bring PTP, period. Like PTP lineups. Okay, cool.
Yep. I'm gonna be disappointed if they're not animated. If he's gonna go that hard.
You know what? I agree. If these are not Sizouney, if these are not animated PTPs, we're gonna have work.
We may get to see whether or not once he gets to play one of these Darias. Unfortunately, it seems no matter what kind of strange concoction you try to run Daria, and you always find yourself having two in your top 10. It's very unfortunate, actually, with this kind of deck that he draws two at once, but, well, it happens to literally everyone, as we can now prove.
Yes, it's not something you generally want to happen, because you want to be able to chain, you want to at least have the chance of chaining those Darias. Daria to Daria to Daria to Daria. You want to be able to have that chance. Unfortunately, Sizouney, I guess he does have that chance, but it's not as high as it was. Like, he has a chance of getting, like, one other one.
Right. It can be so much more difficult to actually chain into the third area, because it could be anywhere in the deck. It could be at the very bottom. It's just throwing one away kind of like messes up the rhythm of the whole deck a lot, but when I say rhythm, I usually mean like this sort of traditional Daria list we're familiar with. Really, I think if Sizouney just kind of gets through his cards and gets a bunch of shadows, there's a chance that he actually manages to get out PTP fast enough. But I think Akamarured's hand is already like more or less set here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the snowmen generally are very strong against decks that can't deal with them. But in this particular case, Akamarured's playing the exact thing that you would want to deal with.
Have you ever had to say out loud that the biggest counter to summon Snowman is Wood of Brambles?
I've never had to say that until you just did. And I still haven't said it because you did.
I got you.
But that is That's very, very true.
Right. I got you, but anyway. Moves on. That is not an animated Path to Purgatory, so you know, see me after class, Sizouney.
Yes. Disappointed. Very disappointed.
But yeah, looking at things, I actually just noticed that he does in fact run Golem Assault in this list, and that could actually, among other things, be a way that he pushes through here. Akamarured has not yet developed any kind of lethal with Roach yet.
No, he has not. And Golem Assault has been a card that has been able to turn the tide against Roach. Just being able to, and Sizouney can even play it next turn. Just being able to get those 3 golems and then the cost getting reduced by the effective Earthright, I think is really, really good. Like, I think it's really cool.
It's kind of interesting. It kind of fits like in an inverted way to a previous card that existed in Ancient Alchemist, I believe, was like a 5-cost follower that does the same thing and gives you 3 Summon Guardians, but didn't have a cost reduction on it. I think the cost reduction on Golem Assault kind of turns it around. You don't get an immediate body, but playing all of them at once becomes that much easier. That could actually be so huge, because if he manages to resolve all of them, well, even if he resolves one and clears for the most part here, Akamarured is out of Evolves. I think we might actually watch Sizouney make something happen with his snowman here.
You're good at this.
Well, Golem Assault, and he can play a ward if he wants. If he really wants it, he can play a ward. And it looks like he does.
I'm also noticing these players have been emoting this entire game. Yeah, I guess so.
Yes, they have. I mean, but they're very familiar with each other, so it's something you would expect of them to do, you know? That they would just kind of, you know, even though it's a competition, they're still friends, right?
Right. Unfortunately here, even though I think Sizouney had like the dream, I was trying to count in my head. It's always so difficult with Roach. If he did have Angelic Snipe and 2 things to trade into the Guardian Golem, he does actually have like a pretty decent setup going here.
You know, I don't even try to figure it out. You know, I just go, you know what, he's dead! You know?
I respect that. There are some hands you look at that just has Roach in all the pieces, and you're like, oh yeah, that's probably just going to be like 56 damage or something, but...
Yeah. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? That's not even right. Alright, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I just, you know, I just
point at someone else, you know, blame me for it.
Yeah, I'll blame you. So when I miss Roach lethal eventually, I'll just blame you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Though, I think just perhaps if he didn't see if there wasn't a setup for it before, perhaps not enough damage, I think he doesn't really have other options in hand that get through these boards without playing the Roaches. I think Sizouney actually is massively favored here. Our guy is so close to this double non-animated Path to Purgatory is being active.
Well, actually, he's there. Like, he's there. Once any 3 of these cards die, like, that's it. Double path, and that's it. Game. Yeah. I don't think Akamarured can even push through this. Sizouney with yet another weird deck.
He made it.
He made it, yeah.
Made it happen.
There's no way he can push. He can't push 26 damage, because he has to get through the ward.
And he doesn't have any way of actually getting through the 3/3s. I feel as though perhaps Akamarured has just been kind of playing it like a friendly for a long time, or perhaps if I went back in time and thought about this, I should probably do this and counted whether or not he actually had it past the first ward.
Wow, so Sizouney gave him back his own finger guns. I like it. I like it. He gave it back to him. He was like, "You're gonna take this L, buddy."
Well,
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's still thinking about it. Like, the third Roach is not going to be it. It's like Sizouney actually manages this, and we saw this happen last time when Sizouney still brought a lot of very, very interesting, if there's, you know, lack of a better adjective, decks.
Yeah, I don't think I could come up with a better adjective. I think interesting. I mean, he was playing CEST in Dragon, okay, and he won.
How many? Yeah, I mean, how many people even know what CEST does? Akamarured goes in for the hits. Actually, that
Akamarured's gonna take an L here. That Path to Purgatory is gonna come down. Gonna go face.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, with double Path to Purgatory in hand and one Roach left on board, he didn't have the last Shadow, but then he draws Fate's Hand.
Yeah, he's still dead. Yeah. So there it is. Fate's Hand. Plays a Path. Face.
The Golem and the Snowman into the Path to Purgatory, you know. The tried and true greatest combo of Shadowverse. And Sizouney takes it.
Nice marksmanship.
I don't even believe that happened. Like, I am in utter disbelief. I think Akamarured just turned on his serious face.
Yeah, this is he's now
I love Sizouney's face, man. He's like, I won.
Every time I get to see Sizouney, it's just such a delight. He's such a like emotive player. Even just like watching him can be as interesting as watching the game he's playing half the time.
Okay, Sizouney is an emo, okay? He is one. He just...
I'd really like to have a Sizouney leader actually at some point.
You know what? I don't want that, but
All right.
Oh man, love Sizouney though, man. That guy, so funny. Man.
He's got such a vibrant personality. He's really cool to talk to. Really cool to see like kind of the backstories behind some of these Dexy builds. Anyway, we're gonna have some questions get answered here. Mail of Obliteration telling him, no, you're not gonna mulligan me. I'm in your opening hand.
Yeah, well, Mail of Obliteration is like, you're playing me this game, okay? That's happening.
I finally get to make my tournament debut.
Well, this would definitely be its tournament debut. Okay. Now, I do want to say, have you seen Mail of Obliteration animated?
I have not seen it animated, no.
It is super sweet. One of the best animateds in the game. Hands down. Hands down. One of the best.
Gosh, my favorite's always been Test of Strength, but I actually am really interested in seeing that.
Should.
Oh well.
Awesome.
If only Sizouney had animated Mail of Obliterations or PTPs at this point.
Yeah. Okay, now he can't do it again, right? Like he like he can't do it again, right?
Well, this is a really tough spot to be in. It's not that this deck does actually have quite a few answers to pretty tough situations, but I think it's going to be really hard for him. It's unlike with his PTP rune deck. He doesn't really have anything like Summon Guardian. He doesn't really run, I think, a single ward in this list that could actually stave Akamarured off, so it could be really tough for him.
Well, currently he's losing the board game, which is really rare to say about Shadow, but he's currently losing the board game. And Wood of Brambles, being Wood of Brambles, that card is amazing.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, just a little good.
It's all right.
Just a little bit.
I think we've seen like pretty much demonstrated throughout all of today, and I noticed this actually is interesting. Forest has been played a lot in both these past few formats. Even before the nerf, I remember a lot of aggro Forest kind of got through. Roach Forest has been everywhere, and Wood of Brambles has been core to every single one of these lists. It's just board control in Shadowverse is so important now that even just the power to just kind of shove things off early with little throwaway followers like fairies that now get to trade things for free is just super massive to the class.
The hunt has only begun.
Yeah. This game is looking very different than the last one. This is looking like aggro Forest, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Honest.
It's still really just fun to watch Sizouney. It's like he's taking it in stride. He just sees the Elf Twins Assault, laughs, got his skeletons, pretty glorious, valorous death there. And today, did you expect the first time you get to mention or talk about the change of Little Soul Squasher to be from a list like this?
No. No, I was actually about to bring up the change to Little Soul Squasher, her being a 2/1 now. That's actually very significant, and we actually just saw why. Before, Little Soul Squasher could Evo and trade into a fairy or something without, or like a 2/2 with Wood of Brambles out without dying. Can't anymore. It can't anymore. That's very significant.
A lot of people talked about kind of in initial impressions to the changes is that, well, why would you reduce the defense of Little Soul Squasher? That's not what makes her strong, right? But I've noticed, if anything, little stat changes to cards is so huge, just due to how powerful evolution is as a mechanic in this game. If Little Soul Squasher can't trade as a 4/4 into stuff, then that removes a lot of possible 2-for-1 options that you used to have.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't say one way or the other, like, if I think it was the right change, if I would, I think it's a fair change. I can't say if it was right or wrong. But Soul Squasher, I don't think that Soul Squasher is going to see less play because of it. I think, well, maybe you may see a little less play, maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's not going to get played. I think that'd be better as Sizouney play.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption, because like, this is another one of those cards that just kind of forever gave a class like a new powerful way to control the board. It's completely different mechanically than Wood of Brambles, but I think it kind of serves the same function in the class.
Right. Oh, sick! What a line of play. He
What else can you expect from, moving on, Master Player never loses a game, Akamarured with a brilliant Will of the Forest on 5.
I don't even understand. Okay, I think I need a tutorial for that play, okay? Please explain to me why you would do that.
It's okay, I called it the best I can. I think Akamarured knows he's against some pretty wacky stuff here, so he's taking the opportunity to do some pretty wacky stuff himself, and he does have like pretty solid continuous like follow-ups into damage himself. Dance of Death, some an active Sylvan Justice with an Angelic Snipe already setting up his Roach. So he probably just completely understood, you know what, I can get away with doing this. The only thing that disappoints me is he throws an empty Will of the Forest and does not give us finger guns.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little ripped off.
I'm disappointed. But we will get to see Mail of Obliteration.
Very true, and he gives us the little heart that I would try to emulate myself if I was also visible. But yeah, we do get to see it.
Oh,
made it all the way up to 10.
I have never actually seen that card.
You've never seen it played? No, I'm not. I'm not completely gonna I'm not gonna tell you I'm surprised by that, but there you go. That is one of the coolest animations in this game. Like, it opens up its clutches and you can see like its fingers, I think, like close in on that like weird green essence that is like all your followers in the past, that is all your vials in your collection, and then it just gathers it up. You see like this massive attack boost.
All right, Akamarured, man. I feel a little misled. Okay, Akamarured. Where are my finger guns?
I don't know. I guess he's saving it for this next deck.
He just gave me some thumbs down. I don't want that. I want my HD finger guns.
Yeah, no, I'm not feeling so great. But
yeah, I'm a little disappointed here.
So how do we really begin with this? We're moving on to Conjuring Force versus Mail of Obliteration. Now, is this a matchup that you have any idea how to approach?
Just the Conjuring Force, man. Just do what Conjuring Force does. Flood board, win game. Like, that's the only thing because Mail of Obliteration, dude.
Yeah, you can't let him get that one off. Not as long as this game goes on. He does run one Fiery Embrace for one of the Mail of Obliterations, but if this game actually goes long enough and it takes him long enough to set up Conjuring Force, there is some world where we might actually see Mail of Obliteration's attack animation. Perhaps that world is this one and that time is today.
All right. Let me throw something in perspective for you here, right? What if Mail of Obliteration gets hit by Rhyme Wind?
So Rhyme Wind would only have to go up to 7, right?
Yeah.
That's only 7
defense of the
spell
card. Yeah.
That is an interaction.
Yeah.
That I've never thought of before, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how sweet would that be? Get a whole board of snowmen, Mail of Obliteration gets bounced back?
I'm trying to visualize what even happens in that scenario. Like, Mail of Obliteration is just getting pushed like Bikini Bottom by 5 snowmen that are just trying really, really hard.
Right. I need to see that. Akamarured, make my dreams come true, please. I need to see this.
I've already completely given up here just staring at this, being able to analyze this in like a calm and analytical manner.
I think this is one of those you kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Pretty much. I mean, but this is definitely a spectacle, but to say the least, it's like two decks with very interesting win conditions, and worth not forgetting is that even though Sizouney plays Mail of Obliteration, we got to see it finally make its tournament debut that it's deserved for so long. He does also run this deck. Well, the deck is named after Hresvelger, so the real like kind of kicker situation here is if he manages to get a board big enough to draw cards off of it. I think that's like Sizouney's end game, what he like wants to do.
That'd be super sweet.
It's just like
I
back in the old days.
Guess if it does manage to happen, that'd be pretty cool. But I think Akamarured is like solidly very far ahead here. Already has a pretty massive plan going. All he needs is a Conjuring Force, and that turns on so many options in his hand.
Actually, at this point, he doesn't even necessarily need the Conjuring Force. One of the best strengths about the Conjuring Force deck is, well, you don't need Conjuring Force. It's one of the biggest strengths of the deck. You can win just simply off a snowman. And as I'm actually quite experienced in playing the deck, you can't leave any snowmen alive if they're on board. You just got to kill them all. Because one snowman, that's it. Thanks for playing. Like, they can have that Conjuring Force. They could have some cheap spell boost from there. Boom, game over.
Yeah, this is not like Otohime into Sage Commander of ye old ancient times. This is Snowmen into Conjuring Force into like 6 other things and like 25 damage off of a single mistake.
Okay, so a Midnight Haunt was just played.
I think this is also Midnight Haunt's tournament debut.
Yeah, I think it is. But we're seeing a lot of interesting stuff today, okay? A lot of interesting stuff today. I don't even know what to say right now. Do you know what to say? I don't.
I can try. That is a really good Midnight Haunt because, like, outside of just trading in his followers or trying to make any other kind of play, like, if he trades in one thing or plays, like, Lyrial and Soul Conversion, that's the only other way to get those shadows in for Soul Squasher. But why do that when you can play Midnight Haunt and get 13, and now he's got more for really anything else he could possibly conceive of choosing it for. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean we're not going to see this Midnight Haunt kind of fuel up a PTP later.
Well, there's that, but there's also the problem of when Midnight Haunt goes away, all your shadows do too. All of them go away. So that means that Mail of Obliteration, yeah.
That's interesting, though. I think Mail of Obliteration is worded just the way it's like, does every follower that
it just say when it dies. It just dies. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, our boy Sizouney knows. he planned for this situation.
It does say dies. You're right. That's something I actually forgot. Like, because you never see it. There's gonna clear up.
Yep. You know, Sizouney being kind of like one of the pioneers of Conjuring Force knows what happens if he leaves up snowmen, so he tries to clear the best he can here.
Well, I mean, Akamarured's hand isn't amazing. Okay. At least not yet. I don't think that it's amazing. He's gonna probably spend a fair amount of time just trading around, just to keep the board clean. I mean, we did see Sizouney play Prince Catacomb, so his board's a little sticky. Even after this Lurching Corpse dies, it's still gonna leave a 1/1.
Yeah. At the moment, he just simply refills and tells Sizouney to do it again. The most interesting thing I find here is just, as you said, Akamarured just perfectly managing to develop this very interesting sort of way to win a game without even needing the win condition of Conjuring Force. He just has enough damage to throw in between like all these snowmen against Sizouney, who's still just going to probably be tasked every turn to try to do something about it. But I think something that was mentioned before. Sorry, go ahead.
Soul Eater. I was just gonna say that's a Soul Eater.
That is in fact a Soul Eater. So if he manages to play that, that is also Soul Eater's tournament debut. It's just kind of like everyone who was once in Shadowverse is now getting their time in the spotlight. But yeah, I think Rainey said it earlier, but this deck does kind of lack sort of ways to get impact from hand. Soul Eater, unfortunately, despite how cool he looks when animated, you can actually see him like just taking that guy's soul, even in the corner there.
Yeah.
Still does not help this problem of board impact, so I think it could be really rough for him if Akamarured finds, that last piece, that Conjuring Force.
Well, this is one of those positions where I think Akamarured does exactly what I was about to say. Whether or not he can decide if he's going to play that Rhymewind or not. If he was going to commit that. That's interesting to me. It's really interesting to me that he would decide to play it there.
Yeah,
because
knows that he has.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add on to that he knows he has an Enchanted Library coming up, has a lot of resources, so just decides I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna keep this snowman train rolling.
Mm-hmm. But what I was gonna say is that now, if for some reason Sizouney had Mail of Obliteration, Akamarured wouldn't have had an answer to it.
What?
Until you said that, and then he drew Fiery Embrace, he still didn't have an answer to that.
Exactly. Oh man, but there is a Conjuring Force.
There it is.
There's a Conjuring.
Though, yeah.
It's chilly here.
Though he manages to get a couple of snowmen out, he only really has the Fiery Embrace, which is still not really spell boosted. Okay, the Enchanted Library helps fuel it up. We're looking at a pretty amazing and novel lethal setup here, to say the very least.
Yeah, well, I think he just has lethal out of hand. Right?
Good point.
Conjuring Force. two Blade Mages. So even if Sizouney manages to clear the board. Oh wait, that's not lethal anymore. Because Soul Eater.
Okay, hold on. So
okay, no, it's lethal. It's lethal.
Yeah.
It's lethal. Okay. He didn't clear the rest. It's definitely
I can now put it on my resume that I've had to count a Conjuring Force lethal over a Soul Eater's healing in the history of Shadowverse.
Yeah.
Unfortunate though, the library actually prevented some space there. I think if not for the library popping, he didn't quite have it yet.
That's game. Talk about the irony of Sizouney losing to his pet deck.
The kiss, the finger guns, the HD finger guns.
He gave them to me. Thank you, Akamarured. Thank you, HD finger guns. I appreciate it, man.
Sizouney takes the loss 1-2, or Akamarured takes the win 2-1, and that's gonna make things very interesting here. We didn't get to see Mail of Obliteration attack. I'm really upset about that.
We'll ever get to see Mail of Obliteration attack.
One day.
I want this Mail of Obliteration.